Here's a reminder, everything is temporary. A powerful landslide swept part of a village in northern Norway into the sea. 8 houses disappeared within minutes. Everyone got out before it happened. The region is known for its coastal landscapes and forests, and though landslides do happen, they're rarely as big as this. One of the most all-consuming searches for a missing child appears after 13 years to have reached an end. Madeleine McCann was 3 when she vanished from her bed in the Portuguese resort town of Praia da Luz while her British parents were having dinner nearby. No trace of her was ever found, but her parents never gave up hope she was alive. Now, as Mike Armstrong reports, German investigators have new information the McCanns hoped they'd never hear.
Behind bars in this German prison may be answers to a mystery that has stumped police for 13 years. According to reports, the new suspect in the disappearance of Madeleine McCann is locked up in this institution. Police aren't releasing his identity yet, but say their investigation is for suspicion of murder.
Wegen des Verdachts des Mordes.
From this, the state prosecutor says, you can see that we assume the girl is dead. That is not something authorities have said since 3-year-old Madeleine disappeared, and the reason for the change appears to be the suspect's background. Back in 2007, at the time Madeleine was taken, the suspect lived in this home in Portugal. By car, it's only a few minutes from the resort where she'd been staying with her family.
Nach unseren Erkenntnissen.
The prosecutor says the 43-year-old suspect made a living committing crimes, among them breaking into hotels and holiday apartments. He also has multiple convictions for sexual crimes, including the sexual abuse of children. Now, police have had hundreds of leads over the years and several suspects, but have never found who took Madeleine from her bedroom in this resort complex. She'd been left in an apartment with 2 siblings while her parents went for dinner with friends at a nearby restaurant. When they went to check on her, she was gone. The McCanns issued a short statement online thanking police for their continued efforts and saying they still hold out hope of finding their daughter alive. But a family spokesperson says they are realistic and at this point just want to understand what happened.
They need to know as they need to find peace.
German, British, and Portuguese police are all working this lead. They're releasing photographs of the suspect's vehicles and asking anyone who thinks they know the suspect to come forward. Because he's behind bars, they say there's nothing to fear by going to police with information. Mike Armstrong, Global News.
It's the news basketball fans have been waiting for. The NBA could soon be back in action. The league's Board of Governors approved a plan to get teams on the court. Though, as Eric Sorensen explains, many NBA players have much more than basketball on their minds.
This is where the NBA hopes to crown a champion in 2020, Disney World in Florida. One location to isolate the league from COVID-19. The players and team personnel will go through health protocols to get basketball back on the court.
The standings were frozen in mid-March. With 16 teams in tentative playoff positions, they're only adding 8 more regular season games. So the teams with the worst records, their seasons are over now. 6 other teams will have a chance to fight their way into the playoffs. The Toronto Raptors, with the 3rd best record in the NBA, are guaranteed a playoff spot. It's a big step for sports during this pandemic, but for many in the NBA, there is something bigger than basketball right now.
The death of George Floyd hit painfully close to home for many players. They know firsthand the racial injustice that has sparked demonstrations across America.
I got a grandfather that marched next to Dr. King in the 60s.
Remembering history, Malcolm Brogdon marched with protesters. So did Jaylen Brown and Steph Curry. All recognize that time has not brought equal justice for African Americans.
We're talking about hundreds of years of pain and suffering for an entire culture of people.
2 of basketball's greatest, LeBron James, reposted from 2014 with the T-shirt "I Can't Breathe." And Michael Jordan, who seldom speaks out, issued a statement, "We have had enough." Atlanta's Trae Young.
It definitely is a brotherhood. Everybody say that's what the NBA is.
In George Floyd's hometown, Minneapolis, NBA players so revered are using their voices to call for change.
I think it's important for me to be here today because, George Floyd is me. That could have been anybody.
Basketball is coming back and coming to Disney World. But for the tightly knit NBA community, this remains a sobering moment to reflect on the racial injustice that persists in America. Eric Sorensen, Global News, Toronto.